Anyway, more readings. I know. Yeah. Okay. So, so here we go. This is the tradition of our Lord, and it's the Blessed Virgin. It says so. Perhaps there is some truth in the strange tradition which still lingers not only among the hill folk of Somerset, but of Glaston. Oh gosh, Glos- Gloucestershire, Gloucestershire. So we tend to say Shire, but it's just sure, like instead of saying Yorkshire, it's Yorkshire. So uh, Gloucestershire, and in the west of Ireland, that's that Saint Joseph of Arimathea. Okay, Saint Joseph of Arimathea came to Britain first as a metal merchant seeking tin from the Scillies at Cornwall. You guys know those words, right? Scillies and Cornwall, and lead, copper, and other metals from the hills of Somerset, and that our Lord Himself came with him as a boy. I've heard this before, and many of you probably have too. Um, the venerable Walter Ferrer, late Archdeacon of Wells, was my authority for this tradition lingering in the hills of Gloucestershire. The Reverend Canon A.B.R. Young, Predenberry, Figaro, this is Figaro, um, of Clogger, had heard the tradition of Ireland all his life. A few years back, there was dug up an osteo, the seaport, the seaport of Rome, an ancient Roman drain pipe below the chariot road. It was bonded in some special way with tin. Professor Russell Forbes cut off a section and sent it home to England without. Hmm, want to change your position? Okay. Professor Russell Forbes cut out off a section and sent it home to England without comment of analysis, and sent it home to England without shucks in comment. Sorry. The verdict was that the metal came from the Mendip mines, the two earliest exhibits of Roman British lead in the British Museum came from the Mendip Hill near Glastonbury. One is dated AD 49 and has the name of Britannicus, son of Emperor Claudius, on it. The other, dated AD 60, bears the inscription British lead, the property of Emperor Nero. Hmm. It is also said that in the wonderful aqueduct in Jerusalem attributed to King Solomon, the particular type of lead found in Mendips and nowhere else was used. This was 100 BC, 1000 BC, excuse me. Mr. E. V. Duff, Count of the Holy Roman Empire, told the author that the Maronite Catalui, Catlui villages in Upper Galilee, there lingers a tradition that a youth, our Lord, came to tradition startling that the first impulse. Oh, come on. Oh no, it's right there. Youth, our Lord, came to tradition. Is this gonna? Let me see. This is quite an old book. Is it moving? Yeah. Tradition is so startling that the first impulse is similarly to reject it as ridiculous. But certain it is that among the old tin workers who have always observed a certain mystery in their rites, there was a moment when they ceased their work and started singing a quaint song beginning, Joseph was a tin merchant. Hmm. And certain it is that if Saint Joseph was a metal merchant, he must somehow have got his tin for bronze, and that the Britain is almost the sole land of tin mines. And if he were a metal merchant, it is not inconsistent with his being a rich man. And the strange story of the Lord's coming, which is so very dear to simple Somerset hearts, would be explained by the Eastern tradition that Saint Joseph was the uncle of the Blessed Virgin Mary. So, if there be any truth in the old story, this ancient tour, with its rites, may have attracted the marked with which first led here Saint Joseph and the Redeemer before he began his ministry, and to it after the wondrous resurrection and ascension. Saint Joseph, laden with his new message of the new religion, would wend its way on its mission from Gaul to Britain, the seat of Druidism, Druidism. Knowledge of the druids, druids, would account in part for his kindly reception by the Druids of France, and he would come to King Arviragus, or any, or at any rate, some of his subjects, as a not unknown person, and hence perhaps his kindly reception and the donation of land. As for the years go on, wider knowledge comes this wonderful story of our Lord. Own, well, on, and come down. Okay. Um, as the years go on, and wider knowledge comes this wonderful story of our Lord's own visit to Somerset and Cornwall, immortalized by William Blake, and in his and did those feet in ancient days walk upon England's mountain green, grows more and more upon one. The possibilities are great between the ages of 12 and 30. We know nothing of our Lord's life. He might well have accompanied his uncle Saint Joseph on a voyage. My mere collecting of the traditions in one little book has fired so many that they are searching that they are searching and collecting traditions from Cornwall as well as Somerset. The well-known Cornish ones, such as the Marazion one. Okay, I'm going to spell that for you if you want to look it up. Marazion one. Oh, one is a separate word. Always referred to our Lord coming as a child with the Blessed Virgin Mary. The Somerset ones to his coming as a lad with Saint Joseph of Arimathea. Both may be true. I shall show that there appears to have been some connection by marriage or blood between the Blessed Virgin Mary and the British royal family. Hmm. The Reverend C.C. Dobson, vicar of St. Mary in the Castle Hastings, one of those fired presses the matter further and suggests that our Lord actually stayed some time in Glastonbury and built a wattle building. I don't know what a wattle building is. He bases this plainly, which one I'm going to be looking up after this, because I haven't read this previously. I'm reading it fresh right here with you because of I wouldn't do it again. I tend to want to move on and take that knowledge with me. Um, he bases this mainly on the letter quoted by myself, not me, did the in this and former editions of this book from St. Augustine to Pope Gregory the Great, where he records the claim that the first followers of Christ visiting Britain, God beforehand acquainting them, found a church constructed by no human art, but by hands of Christ himself for the salvation of his people. One natural impulse is to regard this statement as simply absurd exaggeration, the more so as it is claimed that the building was constructed by no human art. Hmm. And as such, I have always regarded it. But in view of Mr. Dobson's suggestion, one must remember that under such an exaggeration as that no human art built the building, there might lurk a lingering tradition that our Lord had built or taken part in constructing a building in Britain during a visit as a youth, which tallies with our Lord being brought up in the home of a carpenter. Mr. Dobson thinks the very strange name for Glastonbury, in parentheses, the secret of the Lord, supports this theory. It would at least be a possible explanation. Secretum can explain, okay, um, secretum can certainly mean a place of retirement. But so Mr. Dobson further has got hold of a tradition which had not reached me, that Christ and St. Joseph came in a ship of Tarshish to the Summerland and sojourned in a place called Paradise. Of course, Somerset is often called the Summerland. Mr. Dobson has discovered that at a seaside place called Burnham, 17 miles from Glastonbury, there's a farm called Paradise Farm in a district round Burnham called Paradise in the Old Ordnance. Surveys maps, and he links that name with our Lord's traditional visit. He does not appear to know that a part of Glastonbury itself is called Paradise, and that a beautiful little spot northeast of Glastonbury Tor also bears the same name, and an ancient road leading from it is still called Paradise Lane. It is a curious name, but the name of the lighter spot is probably a lingering memory of Celtic days when Avalon and Avilion and the spirits of the departed were supposed to pass through the Tor. Huh? Tor is Tor, if you want to look that up sometime and research that. The myths or stories of people, of spirits passing through Tor, and a piece of land to the southwest of Tor bears the name Avalon in the Old Church Terrier. But this explanation makes it all the more strange that a piece of Glastonbury itself, geographically remote from the dale near the Tor, bears the name Paradise. So, as the possibility of a sojourn of some length has been raised, oh, he wants to go outside. My cats like to go to the bathroom outside. They have a kitty litter, but they like it outside. I like it outside too because then I don't have to clean the kitty litter. But if something should happen, then they can use the kitty litter. Um, let's see. So as possible, after I finish this page, I'm going to be done and just let him out. So as the possibility of a sojourn of some length has been raised, one might refer to another strange name recorded by Sir Robert Wingfield, Henry the Eighth, ambassador to Emperor Maximilian. Hmm. After the claims of precedence of British bishops at the early 15th century church councils on the ground of Glastonbury, Arimathean story, Sir Robert Wingfield had the acts of the Council of Constance recorded. Archbishop Usher wrote of the two existing MSS of this, one in the Royal Library, another formerly the property of Cardinal Peter Bimby, but then in the library of Sir Henry Wharton. Now, how deeply rooted in the English mind was the importance of the Arimathean tradition is not only shown by the fact, as Professor Skeat has shown, that directly printing began. Well, let's see what it says. It has all these names. Um, so many people had a part in keeping this religion going in Christianity. Tennyson has drawn my attention to the fact that not only did Sir Robert Wingfield, Henry VIII, ambassador, have the proceedings of the Council of Constance recorded 100 years after its sitting, but Queen Elizabeth claimed precedence, citing her father's claim, and based on this very ground, Joseph of Arimathea planted Christian religion immediately after the Passion of Christ in this real mean. This claim was solemnly made at Calais, Calis, before commissioners appointed by French King Sir Henry Neville had moved a treaty of peace in this unfortunate year of the reign of the same queen by Robert Cotton, Esquire, in the commandment of the Queen's Majesty. More startling still is the fact that this information of Queen Elizabeth's action is recorded to an 8-page quarto pamphlet printed in London. Um, Lots of names, and nothing may be printed without a license. Um, I think there's a lot to saying that Christ did visit um, Europe and Britain and France, and so that's one of the purposes of reading this, is trying to get it out there and record it. People there kind of know it, right? And if you're from another country, you might not, because some countries know their history better or legends more than it's passed to other countries. So that's really my purpose for reading this. But I'm going to go over this and hopefully have another book come in. But I would like to go over the Old Testament a little bit later on in the future. Go over the Old Testament and maybe share some thoughts on some chapters, and just kind of chat about it. And maybe in the comments you could give some feedback on what you think, or share some more knowledge and everything, so that others can read it and get reading the Old Testament, and then maybe go to the New Testament. We'll see what happens. Okay, well, have a good time, good night, and thanks for being there. See you later.